Welcome back, everybody. We have a special presentation now. I recently, maybe last year, started to develop a really amazing relationship with Roland DGA for America, but they're a global corporation, and we had a lot of things in common as far as our goals. And it might seem weird. People sometimes don't really know what I do that much, but I can tell you this. I only work with companies who are aligned with the goal of it has to be important for the bigger picture of everybody. I don't just want to necessarily help a company promote a product and a service. There's got to be a bigger reason for us working together, and Roland certainly has really manifested that in so many ways, including the participation in this conference. They participated with shout out to the International Sign Association, who on, I believe it was October 6th for International Manufacturing Day, they have an event called Sign Manufacturing Day. And they had more than 100 printing companies from around the world participate in open house events and having students open. And I'm hoping to merge my Print Across the Planet with them next year in some manner. And Roland opened up their doors on Sign Manufacturing Day, and one of the people that they were involved with and are involved with is an educator named Scott Wittkop. He's the career and technical education teacher at Laguna Beach High School, and they participated with Roland. And what they did was they filmed a conversation that they had, and we're going to show it right now. And I just want to thank Dan and thank Scott for their time. Roll the tape, as they say.
Hi, I'm Dan Wilson with Roland DG Americas. As you might be aware, Roland DG is an international company that provides digital imaging technology to print professionals. So we're really excited to be a part of International Print Day. I'm not able to join the session live due to prior commitments, so we're recording our session a few days in advance, as we didn't want to pass up this opportunity to celebrate the power of print and hopefully inspire current and future professionals. I'm excited today to have a conversation with someone who really embodies the Print Connects theme of this event. Scott Wittkop is a career and technical education teacher at Laguna Beach High School in Southern California, where he spent the past 20 years teaching students through courses that are set up like real-world businesses, after having had a prior career of his own in the print industry. Thanks for coming in, Scott.
Thanks, Dan. I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here and talk about how print is being taught in the local high schools.
Yep. So you really have a unique perspective on the next generation of print professionals, as you're teaching many of them, you're working with them every day. Before we get some of your advice, tell us a little bit about how you do what you do.
Yeah, well, we actually have a whole CTE pathway, a career technical education pathway in multimedia. So kids come in, they start just working on the machines. We actually have 7 different Roland products in our classroom. We have vinyl machines, we have UV machines, CNC machines, the banner printers, UV printers, whatnot. We also do a little direct-to-garment screen printing and 3D printing in the classroom as well. So we actually just run it as a business. A customer will send the job in, I'll give it to the students, then they connect straight with the customer. I'm kind of out of it at that time, just more of a CEO on the outside. They'll actually do QuickBooks, they'll give them a quote, they'll do the purchase orders, order the product in, and then they do the design, get the proofs out to the customers, and then they actually go onto the equipment themselves, produce it, and then send it out.
Wow, very cool. So what led you to teaching high school students specifically about printing and graphics?
Well, it goes back to when I was in high school in an ROP class. I took printing in high school. My teacher got me a job, and that started my first career path. And I did that for about 20 years, ended up going back to teaching, and I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to start a screen printing class. And from that point on, I just tried to give back to what my teacher gave me, and have these kids get excited about multimedia, about printing, and what they can do, and it can actually be a future for them.
Very cool. I think you have a lot of insight on what those of us currently in the industry can be doing to connect with the next generation. So I've got some questions for you along those lines.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind. So how aware of the latest print technology are students when they start? And even students outside of your class, how aware are the average students today?
You know, you'd be amazing thinking it's the IT generation, but they really are not aware. Just using a regular printer sometimes is very difficult for them. So they come in very, very basic level. But once we get them going, we get them on machines, and we want them to do the work. I don't do it myself, so we get them aware of all the different technologies and get them printing on it as quickly as we can.
How do students first go about learning what to do with this equipment in your workshops?
Well, you know, the first thing is by demos. You know, we take the students and we start demoing the products. I also have a company that comes in, Spider Labs, that brings mentors into it and helps with certifications on the machine. So I also have a little team with me that helps train the students. And then we have advanced students as well, so we have students teaching students. So it's just really getting them on the machines, touching them, and using them. So it's first by demo, then by doing, and then by doing again and again and again.
And when they first start on campus at the high school level, do they have a sense of what's possible?
Well, some students do, because we actually have a pre-program in our junior high that has a Roland machine in there, a 35-inch vinyl cut printer. So we have a few students that actually already have a feel for it. But we also have field trips down from the junior high into our lab. And I have students walk them through what we can do with it, how we do it. And so they have a little bit of sense of what the classroom is about before they come into it. But then it's pretty much just, you know, let's get flying on it.
So have you noticed any changes over the past, let's say, 10 years or so to the interest that students have expressed in graphic design and print?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is they actually see it in the real world now. They see it in Etsy, they see it online, that they can buy all these little products. So when they come in and they see, wait, I can do all these things that I see online and can actually do it in the classroom, I think it really sparks an interest for them.
Is most of what they're seeing online, or are they aware of what they see out in the real world as well, or maybe at least on campus?
Yeah, I don't think they're aware at first, but once they get there on campus, you know, they see all the stuff that the class produces for the football team, for the cheer team, for drama, for the district office, for our Welcome Back Parents Night. Pretty much anything that's done around campus is actually ran through our shop. So they get to produce it, and then they get to see the fruits of their labor all over the place.
So how about more recently, like let's say the past year or two, has there been any changes to the interest level or just where students are at when they come in?
For us, the interest level is really, because it's so much around our campuses and our elementary schools and our junior high, the interest is really growing because they really do get to see a final product. It's just not like a multimedia class or an art class where you make something pretty on paper or on the computer, but you can take that and it's an actual item that they can walk out the door with, or they can see somebody actually wearing what they've printed.
Yeah, I think that's a unique quality of print, right? Is that you can touch it and you can feel it and you can see it in person. It's not digital, it's not on the screen, it's not sort of out there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more real and tactile.
Yeah, and it gives you a sense of pride. It gives me back right to when I was in high school. The very first day I had my real job that my teacher got me, I got to print 20,000 flyers for a pizza company. And that night I actually go home and my mom had one that she had been put on her flyer when she was grocery shopping. And so when I saw that, I'm like, wow, this is like has an effect. What I'm doing is actually real.
I'm sure she was very proud.
Well, I don't know. I was. I know I was.
So the headlines today, technology headlines, it's all about AI and VR and coding and consumer technology. Where does print fit into all of that? Print technology in particular?
Well, you know, I think they're just vastly different for the most part. But once again, I think it's more of a hands-on thing, and the other ones aren't. And I think it really goes back to like in the 80s when we had auto shop, we had welding, and we had all these great courses that you could hands-on, you're actually doing, you're touching, and you're creating. And I think that's the thing that's really coming around, is kids are really enjoying the creative part and actually coming out with a final product.
That's interesting. It's almost like, I know with my kids, they spend a lot of time on their screens, and we try to manage that, of course, but it's almost like it makes the creative hands-on process that much more special, that much more enjoyable.
I think that's absolutely true. And it's even me as a teacher watching them create and then, walking out with it and going, oh, I can't wait to show my mom this, or I'm selling this on my website. Seeing them do all the different things and the directions they go with it is pretty incredible now.
Yeah. So you recently brought a couple classes to the Roland DGA headquarters here in Irvine, California. Tell us how they responded to what they saw and what they learned.
Yeah, I brought my 2 honors classes here. And like I said, we have 7 Roland machines, so they were pretty versed in what we have. They walked into the lobby and then they saw all the stuff in here that is possible. Just from refrigerators being wrapped to cars to water bottles, just everything. And their just eyes lit up and it's like, wait, we can do all of this as well. And then walking through, seeing all the other equipment, going home, it was like, hey, can we get this? Can we get this? What's the next piece we can do? Oh, can I actually do this project in the classroom now? Can I do that? So it really opened their eyes to more possibilities. And also in that, they got to see how many more careers there actually is in there than what I've exposed them to. They had the little get together where they talked about all the possibilities. And so some of them are like, oh wait, I can actually do this as my career versus this. Right. And I've had a couple kids actually, applying to colleges, kind of shifting to what they want to do.
That's great to hear. And I know one of your students reached out to me about a possible internship.
Yes.
So that's exciting to see that a trip like that sparks another level of interest, even though they might have been interested in the field in the first place. I mean, they enrolled in your class, but there are possibilities that they weren't yet aware of.
Yeah, and I think that's why in the education field trips, internships, working with the print community is so important, because that's how they really can get a fire and they really understand how far they can actually take it.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for people in the industry that are part of today's event, is how we as a print community can engage with the next generation and opportunities like that. So where do you personally go to learn new technologies and workflows that you want to teach?
There's not a lot of places really. I've gone to some trade shows like Impressions in Long Beach because it's close. But really, I talked to Peyton Group, which is a supplier of Roland and some other equipment, Roland as well, to see what kind of equipment we're going to get. I talked to the students of what they want and how they want to incorporate things into our classroom. But mostly, once we figure out the machine we want, we buy it, we get training, and then I learn the same way the kids do, sometimes side by side, trial and error, and a lot of phone calls. Don't ever be afraid to call anybody, because most people out there are willing to help you out. So when you run into problems, it's email, the phone, and a lot of times people will come out. I've had people from Roland come out and help me out when I'm in a bind. So I kind of just learned from the community and trial and error.
And how do the students play into that process of trying new technologies, exploring new technologies or new workflows?
Well, I'm very much a hands-on guy, and I want my students to be hands-on. So we really teach them, don't be afraid to get dirty. Don't be afraid to try it. If it doesn't work, that's okay. You have to crawl before you walk, and it's the same thing in my classroom. Experiment, do new things. I've actually had students say, hey, I want to try this. Go for it, and then all of a sudden, the next year, it's in my curriculum.
So it's not a don't press that button kind of approach.
Absolutely.
You give them free rein.
Absolutely. They have free rein to try stuff. I basically tell them if something breaks, that's okay. We have technicians to come and fix it, and as long as you're not messing around on it and you're trying something, go for it. I don't want them to ever have a fear to take away their creativity. I want them to try and to explore.
Right. Do they ever bring suggestions to you for new equipment?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after we came through Roland, it's like, okay, I want the UV, banner printer. We want this, that. So the more they're exposed to, the more they want.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, we have a list pretty long right now of what we want.
So what unique skills do you think that today's students will bring to tomorrow's workforce?
Well, what I'm hoping from one of the students that are coming in my classroom will definitely be creativity and not be afraid to try new things. Pushing that envelope farther than it's ever been pushed. And I think that's kind of what this whole generation is about. They really do take it beyond what we did. And so that's
great.
what I'm hoping that this generation will do.
That's great to hear. So what advice do you have for other educators in how they're promoting and teaching about careers in print?
I would say the most important thing was to be authentic in yourself and authentic in your program. Make everything useful, make it real world. Kids know when things aren't real world. You know, they'll come to me, it's like geometry, but then they come to my class, I'm gonna use this the rest of my life. So really make it as real world as possible that they can take something out of it and actually do something later in life with it.
Yeah, that's a great point. How can print manufacturers and print shops and people in the industry today, how can they get involved in that?
Well, I think the best way for print shops to get really involved is connect with their high schools. They all have like a multimedia class, maybe print shops or whatnot, and reach out and internships, partnerships, do overflow work for us or whatever, but and field trips to them. Just be involved so the kids can learn that much more of what opportunities are out there.
And where would a business start to connect with the district or a particular school?
I think it would just basically go on their website and find the multimedia teacher and email them directly.
Multimedia teacher.
Yeah, and that's what I get emails all the time from people. You know, we have internships possibilities or this or that, and most people want help and want to have those opportunities for the kids. So I would think just reach out, and I would say the same thing to the educators. Reach out to them. That's probably even more important.
Yeah, and I know you've done that yourself.
Yeah, that's something that as a district we're pretty good at.
What about at the district level? Do you have any advice for shops and businesses to collaborate with districts?
I think that'd just be just contacting them if they want to be, in partnership with them. Every district will have a different person as a point person, but if you just call into the school, they'll direct you to the right place. We have Kelly Shears, our CTE director, so at our school, she'd be the one we'd go to.
Yeah. And are there, aside from direct contact with a school or a district, do you feel like there's industry events and programs that either shops or manufacturers or schools can be a part of together, like today, like International Print Day?
Well, I think the teachers need to know more of those that are going on, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The educators don't know about as many of these programs that are going on as that we need to. So I think if you guys reach out to us, we'll be more...
To make you aware of,
us more aware of
there's a trade show in your backyard, or there's an online event. Yeah, that's a great point. I know at Roland, we're participating in events like Manufacturing Day, which industry associations that we're members of partner in, among others, of course. We're also active at education-focused conferences and events. And then as a part of International Print Day, there's Print Across America, which invites, shops to open their doors, to host people in person, online, to promote the power of print. And then, something that's near and dear to me and my team at Roland is really meeting students where they're at. And for better or worse, they're oftentimes on their phone, on a device.
Yeah.
And so how can we inspire them right there through social media content, through video content?
Well, I think all those things can be used well. But, getting in front of them, I think, is the most important thing. Personalized thing is probably the best way to do it. Like if you're a local print shop in my neighborhood and you want to come and talk to my kids, come and talk to my kids. That's what we want. We want the kids to really see it hands-on. Yeah. But so they are social media people, so I think the more opportunities we can get in front of their face to have them look at it, I think the better off we'd be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Are any of your students active on social media with what they're creating? Etsy shops or
actually,
showing to their friends, hey, check this thing that I made out.
For sure. I actually have the student that asked for the internship with you.
Okay.
We'll just call him George. But he has actually his own website. He passes his products out to influencers and stuff, so they wear it, so they see it.
Cool.
So the kids know how to use that. That's one thing that they're actually very good at. So we do have students that are already doing it. I have students that sell stuff on Etsy. I have students that sell stuff on eBay. So they are actually using that. It's something that I encourage a lot, to create your own little business. Put stuff on Etsy, see what happens, see what they like. Look on Etsy and see what other people are doing. How can you do something a little different?
Great. That's great to hear. I know we have customers of ours that buy our product to run their Etsy store. And very oftentimes they're promoting what they do with it on their social channels, and some of them turn into influencers to some extent. It's also fun to see broader popular culture influencers cross over into using print technology, whether it's a 3D printer or DTG or DTF printer, flatbed printer. There are so many possibilities of cool things that you can make, and people who have a following and they're creative get really excited about all those amazing things that they can make with this technology.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of people on YouTube doing that as well. We actually bring YouTube into our classroom quite a bit.
Okay.
And especially when we're training on machines. One of them said, how do you learn how to use a machine? One of the ways that even as a teacher I do is we'll pop onto YouTube and watch people doing it there as well.
So you're finding stuff that's being created out in the industry, how to use this particular printer, how to do this kind of thing, and you're saying, hey, watch this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
when we just got the directed film machine from you guys in September, and one of the reasons we got it, I heard about it. The students and I started looking it up at YouTube. How can we use this in the class? How would it benefit us? And go through that. And then once we saw all the different ones out there, of course I went to Roland because I have a bunch of your machines. I know the support. I know how good it is. So we went with the Roland machine, and the kids use it every single day. We have stuff going on.
For the record, I didn't tell you to say that.
You actually did not tell me to say that.
So do you see any opportunities for print providers to offer their services to the education world?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for my classroom, it's a pretty substantial classroom in the amount of equipment I have, but we still have a little bit of overflow work because we don't do print on paper, so we don't do programs and stuff, but my kids design all the programs for the school, for drama, for graduation. So we actually do outside work with other printers. So I have relationships with other printers that are in our community, and we set it up the same way. My students work directly with them. I stay out of it, so the student actually asks him, what do you need? What kind of margins do you need? All of that kind of stuff. And they understand they're working with students, and they're great with them. So that's the other thing that I think that the print community could do.
Yeah, and there's business there, right?
Yeah, there is business.
They can charge for those services.
There is business, but also
doesn't have to be free.
Yeah, there is business there, but I think the biggest thing coming out when I was in the print thing is getting quality people to come and work for me. And I think getting that relationship is so important, because you get to know the teacher, and the teacher can recommend kids like, this kid is like legit, and he can really help your business. So I think it can really be a two-way deal.
That's a good point. So any final thoughts? I mean, I've kind of covered a lot of what I wanted to ask you. Anything I haven't covered that you just wanted to express or share about the state of the print industry, the state of education, what our audience should be mindful of?
Well, being I started it when I was 16 and it was my first career, I actually left it because technology changed so much. The offset printing kind of went away because we came with the printer and stuff. So the whole thing is just keeping up with technology. I changed professions, became a teacher, but fortunately I got to go back into it and actually hopefully create a next generation of people that are doing what I used to do. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, is we all just have to keep up with the technology and how it works, and keep educating young people to be mindful of it and be inspired by it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I've told you before, I'm truly inspired by your story.
Thank you.
And what you're doing, and it's great to have you as a Roland user. We're looking forward to seeing you and your students and the positive impact that they continue to make in the print industry, in the world, in their community. So thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here, and if anybody ever has any questions, you can look me up online.
There you go. There you go. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you, International Print Day organizers. It's great to be a part of this event. Have a good one.
From around the world. Let me start that again. That was so amazing and inspiring, and comments from around the world really let everybody know that if you take a little initiative and you open up your doors, or you show somebody something cool, or you can influence them by giving them something that is relevant to them, you really can influence a whole generation of people to embrace print in a new way. Speaking of that, as a perfect segue to our next session, understanding the digital shift, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be right back with Matt Mahoney from Rackham.